What would your life be like if you could control everything? What would you do? What kind of person would you be if you could control everything in life? Because here's the thing, we all think that if we can control everything in life, then that's the key to never experiencing the pain of rejection or loss or really anything negative in life at all. We think that if we can take control of it all, then there's no need for any of that stuff to happen. And so we all go out in search of control in either one way or another, and over time it really can make you miserable and it can totally ruin your life if you let it. You see, all of my life I was looking for control, either of myself or the world or the people around me, and it really just made my life so much worse. So in today's video, I want to share with you how to deal with control issues and how to stop any controlling behavior that you might have. And to do that, I'm going to be sharing 5 simple truths that I have learned throughout my journey of self-improvement and self-acceptance that have helped me to deal with what were some pretty severe control issues. And to illustrate those points, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the problems that I had in terms of trying to gain control over things that were 100% out of my control most of the time. And I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit about that and the effect that that had on me, but also these 5 simple truths that if you can understand and apply them to your life, you will be able to improve it in ways that you didn't think was possible before, whilst at the same time accepting that sometimes you're not going to be in control and that, you know, good and bad things will happen. But by understanding these truths, you won't feel so distressed and so angry or upset or anxious about any of this kind of stuff. So without me kind of banging on too much more in this intro, let's jump into this video and let's start exploring these 5 simple truths for how to deal with controlling behavior and control issues. So pretty much like anyone else, my control issues started with fear of pain. During my childhood, I had experienced my parents being absolutely betrayed by close friends. I experienced financial difficulties, which I suppose would be the most understated way to put that. I suffered from crippling loneliness and so much more. And as I got older, this developed into anxiety and depression and anger management issues and a wide range of other emotional problems. And I eventually came to one single conclusion, that was that all of these negative parts of my life were as a result of me not being in control. And so I developed this belief that the only way for me to stop experiencing pain and loss and loneliness and rejection was for me to take 100% control of everything. And I'm sure we've all been there where you've thought, well, if I could just be in control of this, or if I could just control that, then these bad things wouldn't have happened in my life if I could have just been in more control, or if I could have just controlled myself. And that was very much where I was as well, where I thought that nothing and no one could ever hurt me if I learn how to control everything. And just as a side note, I would highly encourage you to spend some time trying to get to the root of where your control issues have come from as well. If you feel like, well, your control issues are getting out of control, then I would highly encourage you to actually have a look within and find out where those issues even came from to begin with. But nevertheless, I focused a lot of my time and energy on becoming smarter. And I read books on psychology, philosophy, human dynamics, logic, reasoning, everything that I could possibly get my hands on that I thought would give me a foothold in learning how to control the world around me. At a certain point, I even started taking what are called neurotropic drugs in order to improve my cognitive performance. That'll be a story for another time entirely. But of course, I didn't find the answers that I was looking for there. So I switched my focus over to self-improvement instead. You see, if I couldn't control everything through just being smarter, I figured at the very least I could learn how to control myself. That was what I'd been told throughout my entire life. Whenever I had an emotional outburst or something like that, it was always, Ben, control yourself. And so I finally took that to heart, and I read hundreds of self-help books, watched hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours of YouTube videos, read hundreds of articles, went to seminars, did courses, and so much more, just so that I could get a little bit of insight on how to control myself and improve my life in that way. But the thing was that no matter how many books I read or how many videos I watched or how many seminars I attended, I couldn't find the answer. I would at one time be able to control one area of my life, but then the other areas would quickly start to crumble after that. And I'm sure you've experienced this too, where maybe for a little while you manage to get into a place where you're super healthy, but then maybe your social life suffers, or you don't make the time to see your friends or meet new potential romantic partners and things like that. And as humans, we have this strange ability to hyper focus on something, and when we hyper focus on something, it inevitably means that we shut out everything else. So right now I'm hyper focused on speaking to the camera, and it's only when I've kind of forced myself to become aware of everything else that I remember that I've got my laptop here, a microphone here, books behind the camera on the bookshelf, I've got lights, I've got a glass of water. But for now, I'm just hyper focused on this one thing to the exclusion of everything else. And that can be extended out to the rest of the areas of your life too, where if you focus too much on trying to control one aspect of your life, other things go out of focus, and when things are out of focus, they inevitably begin to decay. And really, this is why I just kept spiraling over and over and over again. And this, of course, brings us to truth number one. And that truth is that events in life can be put into two categorizations or two boxes. And those two boxes are things we are in control of and things we are not in control of. Now, in box number one, the things that we are in control of, there are our thoughts and our actions. It is a very, very small box. And even the two things that are in that box have exceptions, because there will be sometimes where reactions will be out of your control. Your thoughts will be automatic and out of your control. So that is a very small box with a very open lid. And then you've got box number two, the things in life that you are not in control of. And that box has everything in the entire world in it. And that is a terrifying concept when we start to understand that really we're not actually as much in control as we thought that we were, or even that we thought that we could be, because almost everything in life is outside of our control. And when we try to control all of that, it's like trying to hold back the ocean with our bare hands. Eventually you're going to drown. Now, it was around this time that I found myself getting involved in the law of attraction side of self-improvement. It was as if I had discovered the true secret to the universe, and for the first time in my life, when I started to work with the law of attraction, I felt like I was finally in control. I felt almost at peace with everything. I was being told that, this was the answer, but of course nobody knows all the answers, and anyone that says that they do is either lying to you, or they're lying to themselves, or they're probably lying to both. Even I don't have all the answers when it comes to self-improvement, confidence, self-esteem, anxiety. I am knowledgeable, probably more knowledgeable than most people, but by no means do I know everything, and I will never say that I do. But here I was being shown the answer to everything, God, life, the universe, all of it, and I felt in control for the first time ever. And it was amazing. And I'm sure you've had that as well, where you think for a little while that you found the answer. Maybe it was self-help, maybe it's the law of attraction, maybe it is religion or spirituality, but eventually you start to realize that that is not necessarily the case. But I'm jumping ahead of myself in the story here. So I discovered that all I needed to do was put out a positive intention into the world and it would come back to me. That was what I was being told, and I was starting to put it into practice. For example, I remember waking up one day and thinking to myself, right, today I'm going to manifest a compliment about my appearance. And that was a massive sticking point for me back then. I didn't think I was particularly attractive or that I dressed well or anything like that. So I thought, well, let me manifest that. And to my surprise, it happened that same day. In fact, only a few hours after I had woken up, I was in class and I was given a compliment by one of my friends about how I looked that day. And I felt great. I thought that I had manifested that into my life. Another time, I wanted to make sure that I got a window seat on a coach journey that I was taking, and I put that intention out there, and when I got onto the coach, yep, there it was, that window seat that I wanted, and that was also great. I was making friends, gaining popularity, I was feeling good about myself and about life, and I thought that this was all because of the law of attraction until I tried it with something bigger and more meaningful, and I put out the intention that I was going to ask this girl out that I'd been in love with for like 6 months, and I did it, and she rejected me, and my entire worldview crumbled because I realized, actually, despite all of this thoughts that I was in control, I still wasn't in control, and I could still get hurt. And I started to look back on these things that I had thought that I had manifested, and I realized, the day that I had gotten that compliment about the way that I looked, it's because I had made a great effort that day to look good, but I'd ignored that part and just thought that I'd manifested the compliment. The day that I manifested that window seat on a coach, I had really just booked an off-peak ticket, so the bus would have been virtually empty anyway. And that brings us to truth number 2, which is that in terms of our mind and our thoughts, a lot of the times we're not actually in control. As I said earlier, even though thoughts and actions are in that small box of things that we are in control of, sometimes we're just not in control of them. And regardless of if it's for positive thinking or the law of attraction, trying to take control of your thoughts and your unconscious intentions to try and manifest things or make things happen or take control is eventually going to lead to you once again feeling totally miserable and powerless in the world, and that is of course not the feeling that we are going for. I'll have a video pop up above my head now on how positive thinking can actually really make you unhappy and miserable in your life. I highly recommend you go and watch that video after this. It'll also be in the link down in the description below, so check that out for a little bit more in-depth on how trying to control your thoughts can drive you to a place of uncertainty and unhappiness. A lot of the times we can't control our thoughts. We just have to let them be when they are automatic and negative. We don't have to let those thoughts become us, and I'll get to that in a little bit as well, but sometimes we're just not in control of that either. And so once again, realizing that I was out of control, I started to refocus on getting control in another way, and I thought that I could do this by learning how to control other people. And of course, this was not a proud time in my life at all. This was a time when I was in a lot of pain, and I thought that the only way for me to end that part of it was to start taking control of the people around me. And I'm sure in some way or another we have all been there, where we think if we could just control this person's actions, this person's thoughts, that everything would be absolutely fine. And some people I tried to control out of pure selfishness, and some people I tried to control out of some strange sense of care for them, as if I knew what was best for them, and that if I could just make them do what I thought was best, then everything would be okay. And in a way, that was just selfishness as well. And the thing about controlling other people is that it can 100% be done. We see this every single day. it's not something that is outside of the realm of possibility. It's just that it always comes at the expense of love in your life, and it comes at the price of total self-loathing, either at a conscious or an unconscious level, every single time. For me, even though a lot of the times I had what I believed were noble intentions of trying to protect the people that I cared about from the imaginary consequences that I was thinking about and obsessing on, I only really ended up hurting myself and other people around me as well. And that brings us to truth number 3, which is that not everything is or should be your responsibility. People have the right to make their own choices and live their own lives, even and especially if you disagree with them, because no matter how well you know someone, you'll never know what's really going on with them. You'll never know what's going on in their mind or in their life, or what's going to happen to them in their future, whether or not they are going to have positive or negative consequences. We just don't know. But if you truly care for someone, then you'll let them make those mistakes, and you'll let them take actions, and you'll let them face whatever consequences might come. The way that I like to explain it is that people have to be treated like butterflies, where if you hold them too tightly, you're just going to crush them, and the most loving thing you can do is just let them go and let them do what they will. You're not in control of that. You can't be, without potentially hurting yourself or other people around you, especially the people that you care about. So at a certain point, I came to realize what a lot of people come to realize, which is that the problem is that I'm not in control of my emotions. And if I can just get in control of my emotions, then everything will be absolutely fine. If I could get myself into this Zen Vulcan-like state of emotional control, then, that'll all be exactly what I need to make the change that I want and have the control that I need in life. Over my childhood, I'd been a very emotional child, and as a result of a very strict religious upbringing and other events in my life, I learned how to really bottle up my emotions and ignore them, kind of crush them down and compact them and just put them in a dark corner. And that was what I thought control was. The thing is, what I didn't realise was that I was slowly plunging myself into a state of absolute self-loathing. The more I didn't address my emotions, the more I just tried to control them and pack them down, the more self-hatred I felt for myself, because I was ultimately denying who I was as a person. And on the one hand, I craved that control of my emotions, and on the other hand, I wanted so desperately to feel like I was loved. And again, I'm sure this is something we can all relate to, that desire to be loved by other people. It's a perfectly human thing to want, and it's something that we all want. We all want to be loved. But I also despise the vulnerability that created in me. And when I found myself in another potentially romantic situation where there was a girl and the feelings were reciprocated and things could have moved on in a positive way, I pulled back because I didn't want to release control of my emotions. I didn't want to put myself in that state of vulnerability, and I ended up both hurting this girl that I cared about and myself as well. And the worst thing about it was that I genuinely believed that it was the right thing for both of us at the time, that I should remain in control and everything else should fall away. And this brings us to truth number 4. And that truth is that sometimes the best way to be in control of things is just to let them happen. Some things just have to happen, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And yes, sometimes you're going to fall and hurt yourselves, but on the other side of it, sometimes you will fall, maybe even in love. But ultimately you won't know until you let yourself fall. And I apologise if that was maybe a little bit too cheesy, but That's what I believe, and that's what I think on this subject. Sometimes you just have to let yourself fall and trust that it's not going to kill you. Sometimes you just have to release that control. Now, eventually I was able to start working through these problems in therapy, though I had initially gone there for help with my anxiety, which is something that I'll be addressing in another video coming up very soon on how I overcame my social anxiety in life. I was able to start to understand that my need to be in control of everything was hurting me, and it was hurting the people around me, and I started to learn how to let go of that control. I had to learn how to accept myself and just let things be what they are, especially with the people that I cared about in life. I started down a journey of self-acceptance, which has led me to where I am right now. And it also led me to truth number 5. And that truth is that the best way to control life is to accept it as it is and understand that there actually isn't any need to change anything in the world or about yourself. You don't need to change anything. You can still go out there and make a positive impact in the world. You can, anyone can, but you don't need to. And to put that level of responsibility on yourself may in fact hurt you over the long term. Again, this isn't a call for everyone to fall into a state of apathy where they don't try and make a positive difference. But the main understanding that I have come to is that I don't need to change the world. I don't need to change anything about myself. I will still try to, but I have to try with the understanding that maybe I will have no impact at all, or maybe I'll have a negative impact on everything, or maybe I'll have a positive impact, however big or small those impacts might be. Even when something has a negative outcome or not the outcome that you wanted, you have to realize that that is okay as well. You don't need to be in control of that. It's perfectly fine. You don't need to change anything about the world or about you. And I'll be honest, learning how to let go and accept things the way that they are is hard. It's one of the hardest things I've ever learned to do. But the payoff, the weight off of your shoulders, the allowing yourself to feel love and to love more freely as well, and to accept yourself for who you are, that is the truest path to confidence and happiness. And that's what I'm about here. My mission is helping people to find their true confidence, and the way to that is through self-acceptance and actually releasing control of everything, just letting things be the way that they are, still trying to make a positive impact but not needing to. And I'm certain that if you start to follow these 5 simple truths, that your confidence will improve, your happiness will improve, your level of contentedness in life will improve. So start applying these in your life today, and let me know how this goes for you. If you have any questions, anything that you want to discuss about, anything you want to know more about, get in contact with me on Facebook, in the comments down below, on the website, wherever it is. Just let me know how it is that I can serve you or help you in any way. Now, on the subject of that, if you would like to start to make those changes in your life that you want to, I've got a few things for you that can definitely help you along the way. The first thing is a free 5-page PDF booklet that I'm giving away for free on my website called The 7 Secrets to Confidence. And in that little booklet, I explain some of the things that the self-help gurus and other coaches and teachers in this industry don't really want you to know about how to become confident, because, you know, it eventually cuts away at the bottom line of the self-help industry. But I'm more interested in helping you to get results than I am with getting money. So in that book, I share with you 7 secrets that you can start to use today to massively improve your confidence and start to become the person that you've always known that you can be. The second thing is, of course, this channel itself. I'm putting out videos on a regular basis all about helping you to become the most confident version of yourself. So make sure that you are subscribed with the notification bell on so that you can get these videos as soon as they're coming out and start working towards improving your life in whatever way that you want to. And of course, the final thing, if you want to accelerate your progress towards your goals or towards achieving your confidence and you want to work with me personally, then make sure to send me a DM on the Facebook page or leave a comment or contact me on the website, whichever way you are most comfortable with. If you want to get access to confidence coaching, speak with me and we'll arrange a call where we'll discuss whether or not confidence coaching is a good fit for you, if you actually need it, because you might actually not. A lot of people don't need coaching. It is for the very few who want to accelerate that process, but most people can just get there on their own. So if you are wanting to accelerate that process, then make sure to contact me. I'll be more than happy to help you in any way that I can. But otherwise, thank you very much for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I look forward to seeing you in future videos here on this channel very soon.